Hey, and welcome to the Better You podcast. My name, of course, is Ian Bickle, and as you hopefully well know, I am a behavior change coach that specializes in emotional and binge eating. Quick introduction because I don't want to beat around the bush in any way. Today, I have a miraculous story, an amazing journey that Sarah has undergone, and I really wanted to share this with you guys so you can hear how she's overcome 15 years of kind of yo-yo dieting and binge and emotional eating to the point now that there is no issue. So I'm going to let it go from here. We're ready, Sarah?
But yeah.
She's ready, steady, go. Uh, Welcome, Sarah. We have pressed record, and Sarah is so excited. She's glowing to be here at this moment with myself, recording this mini kind of, I guess, story journey of your transformation. So, welcome, Sarah. Morning. So, Sarah, I just want to from the off just say how amazingly like proud I am, and I'm so excited to kind of record this because there's going to be so many other people, so many other women out there that have been struggling with this for the longest of time. And I've said to you, listen, we need to share this because it could potentially help dozens of other people get over the challenges that they are currently facing. So I do massively appreciate your time today. So I'm going to hand it over to you a little bit. I'll ask a question first. So what where were you struggling with? What's been going on? Where were you before we started working together?
So before we started working together, I literally would be on and off a diet or like some sort of like crazy regime that I decided I needed to do for like I think we said like maybe it's 15 years when you actually asked the question to think about how long I'd been living like this. And it was a case of like restricting foods, exercising to like extremes, then binge eating to extremes, and then like just all the feelings around binge eating, feeling guilty that then I would start the cycle again where I would then need to exercise to an extreme. And it was just like relentless, and it literally took over like all parts of my life and like all of my thoughts throughout the day, really.
So when you say it took over your life, how did it get in the way for you?
So it would become like I would miss out on things. Like I would feel that I couldn't go to events, or like I would worry like that going somewhere where there was food involved or alcohol that would undo all the hard work I'd done that week of exercise. So I might miss out, or I might go but have a reason why, like, oh, I'm not eating or whatever, because that was like I couldn't control that, and I just had to be in control of like food, drink, exercise. But really, like I actually didn't have control because I would then totally lose control and just end up like binging, um, and then feeling guilty afterwards. Um, yeah, I would like sacrifice going to things or going to like social events because I do that gym class at that time of day, and that was like a non-negotiable. And then you look back and like you've missed out on things, because you thought that going to a gym class was like more important than maybe socializing with friends, family, or whatever.
What kind of made this like perpetual cycle worse for you? Because, it kind of sounds like I think within especially the fitness industry, discipline and disorder, it's a very blurred line. Was that something that really challenged you?
Yes, like I've always like gone to the gym, been like active, sporty, and from like an outsider looking in, they probably thought that, oh, like she's always at the gym, like fit and healthy, but really like they don't know that what you're doing actually wasn't really helping. I was getting like overtired, like exhaustion, not feeling my body properly, and people might think that, you know, you're fit and healthy, but actually what I was doing wasn't making me feel better. Like exercise is supposed to make you feel better. Maybe it did, like in the short term, but longer term, like I was just getting run down really because I was going through periods where I wouldn't be eating enough. So then, but I'd still be doing like exercise, running every day and things like that.
Was there an element of kind of secrecy then behind what you were doing?
Yeah, I think so. Like obviously binge eating isn't something that you do in front of loads of people. It would be like it's in the house, isn't it, by yourself? It's you and food, and that's why I think you feel guilty because people on the outside don't know what's going on behind closed doors. Um, so to everyone else or people for who you go to the gym with, or they think that you're fit and healthy, going to the gym, eating healthily, at work maybe, but then at home it's like a totally different story. It's kind of like, yeah, people don't see that there's that side to you because they just assume you've got it all under control.
Kind of like you're living two lives.
Yeah.
How did that kind of make you feel, like binging and, you know, in many ways breaking those promises? Because I'm sure there was several times throughout that period of time that you'd said yourself, this is the last time, you're going to control this. I mean, what was the inner narrative around this, and what things did you try to do to control it?
So to try to control it, I think you try, like, for example, tracking everything, thinking, right, well, women 2,000 calories a day, that's like what a woman needs. So I'm going to have less than that because I'm going to lose weight. So like tracking it for me at one point was like getting obsessed with numbers. So just telling myself, well, yeah, you might be hungry, but actually you've already had like that XY number of calories a day or whatever, and trying to just, stick to numbers, and ignoring like the fact that you're feeling hungry or you're awake in the night because you're hungry, because maybe I'd be in the gym during the day and then been to work, but because my calorie tracker says no, you've had your food for the day, then that would be it. So then when I might binge and clearly just go way above calories, and obviously I wouldn't track them at that point, you kind of feel like you've failed and you've got no willpower, and there's a bit of willpower needed to do, like, to lose weight, and you're just greedy, you've got no willpower, like, look at the state of you kind of thing. And then guilt, when really looking back now, probably genuinely was just hungry because I'd been to the gym and wasn't feeding my body properly.
So you tried, like you'd mentioned, tracking calories and your macros, with utmost precision, and other means of regulating your behaviors around food, like to stop your binge and emotional eating. Like, doing all of those things, did it help in any way, or do you find that it just made things worse?
That's definitely made things worse. I think at the time, if you get like a short-term result, like, I've definitely been one for starting a diet as soon as I know I'm going on a holiday. Like that's like a thing that would trigger me to start something like tracking calories. And yeah, for 6 weeks you might be able to stick to it, and you might think, oh, I'm getting the result, like I've finally cracked like dieting, and then you realize that actually you haven't at all, and it's probably just made the problem even worse again, because all of the foods that are restricted throughout like a 6-week period then become like guilt around those when I do decide I want to eat them, and then eat them to like mega excess.
You said that this had been going on for like many years, like 15, well over a decade. And
I'm really old. Decade.
really old, younger than me. So what's that say about me? So, you said you'd like battled with this, if you'd like. what kind of made you shift in perspective? We're just talking off the call there about, how long you were kind of engaging with my content, whether you were actually, hitting the like button or anything like that. But what kind of made you go, you know what, like, yeah, this needs to be changed. And I think Ian Bickle is the man to kind of like help me.
Yeah, so obviously I like was a friend with you on Facebook from when I used to go to the gym that you had. Um, and then just started seeing your sort of posts or stories popping up about like binge eating and restriction. And as I like watched more of them and read more, I thought, that sounds a bit like me. Like, or maybe there's other people out there who like are doing this as well, and I don't need a diet. Or like, and I would just read the stories and listen to like, the little snippets that you would post when you ran your dog walk and stuff. And then the more that I read, I realized that like they all really did apply to me. And I thought like I'm watching videos of people who've worked with you who say that they've never been happier, they're not on a diet anymore, like there's no restriction. And it just made us realize that like I must fit into a category a bit of people who are living like this. And I knew that I didn't want to be on a diet. Like that's one thing I knew I didn't want. And then I realized that that's actually what like you were offering. But yeah, it took ages because I would just sort of sit in the background and like read your posts and watch your videos. And then eventually, like when it got like a rock bottom point, I was like, right, I'm gonna have to do something about this.
And you mentioned there, like you felt very like isolated and alone. Is that
Yeah.
how it felt to you, that this just problem was solely afflicting you?
Well, yeah, I think like especially with like binging, and you think you just put that down to like lack of willpower, and that's embarrassing because like other people can do it, but clearly I don't have the willpower to do it. Other people can go on a diet successfully, but like obviously I can't because look at as I'm having to do loads of different diets and then I'm binge eating like I just don't have the willpower. But actually you realize that there's clearly loads of other people out there who might appear that they're on a diet and they're doing great, but you don't know what they're doing behind closed doors. And the likelihood is they're probably binging and feeling guilt and all these feelings around diet as well. And that, I wasn't the only person who was like feeling this way and going through these cycles.
I mean, from the off, I said, like, listen, this isn't another diet. This isn't another thing that's designed to keep you in control. It's actually designed to give you control and freedom, like true control over like the emotions and things like that. And one of the most impressive things I find with people who are ready to change is like, doesn't matter when. So we started working together about 2 weeks before Christmas. It wasn't, I'm going to wait till January. It was 2 weeks before Christmas. And you were just saying as well to me that since then, 2 weeks before Christmas, when all of the food is everywhere, and then obviously January kicks in where maybe a cereal yo-yo diet is like, right, I'm going to start being good. You get your stomach fill, because you're going to deprive yourself in the subsequent weeks and months. But when people are ready to change, I say you're ready to change. There's no time. You could be waiting for fair weather circumstances for the rest of your life. This is something that we can fix. You're going to have a life alongside your nutrition and your dietary intake. So, yeah, you were saying you've not binged, and it's now, what is it? Like, it's practically April.
Yeah.
It's the end of March. It's practically April since before Christmas, a couple of weeks before Christmas, and here you are. So, like, yeah, tell us a little bit about like what was different, what changed in you, like what happened.
I don't know. um, but no, like you would think like you would wait till January, like with the mentality I had, like oh, like it's Christmas, let's just like get all the chocolate eaten or get it all out the house, take it all to work. Everyone turns up with like all the chocolate that they don't want anymore because it's January. But like I just knew that, well, like Christmas comes around every year, so like what's the point in waiting until January, because then you've got another Christmas coming. Like that's going to happen every year, and the people around you aren't, their behavior is not really going to change. There's going to be people who start die in January. So I don't know, I think I was so rock bottom, or like I must have just read something on your post that made us think, right, this is it, I'm going to do it now. And I knew I knew that you weren't offering a diet, and I knew that that's what I needed. So I just thought, to be honest, it didn't even cross my mind that like it was Christmas and like to wait till after Christmas, like that wasn't really a thing. But yeah, like we spoke just like before this video, like about the fact that I haven't binged at all, and I started to say like, you know, maybe it's in the first few weeks, like it was me deliberately like not wanting to binge, but then I take that back, like it wasn't even a conscious decision, like right, you're working with Ian now, like you can't binge, like you need to be fixed, like it genuinely just didn't happen, like it was magic. I don't
Magic.
know.
But I think, you know, you've spoke to really what it is that we've done there. You know, you said consciously, well, this isn't a conscious problem. Like there's a little kind of snippet to people who are trying to resolve this issue that are like through this perpetual cycle. This isn't a conscious, because you tried all the conscious things. You tried all of the intellectual things that felt or sounded right. Restriction, being good, not going out and avoiding social situations, so trigger foods weren't even in the vicinity, not getting in the house. And actually, I want to talk a bit about our first thing, which is still in your cupboard. You can you can tell a story.
Yeah, so like when we first started, like Ian was looking at like what I would eat for breakfast, and you know, just having an idea of like what I do eat, and he's like, well, so what about like before the gym? Like, do you not fancy like some like quickly, if you're waking up like with not much time, like a bit of cereal maybe? And I was like, oh no, like I don't have cereal in the house. It's like right, well, you need to go down to the supermarket tonight and look at all the cereals and choose some. So I was like skipping down to Sainsbury's, like happy as Larry that I was going to buy some like cereal. It didn't have to be like, you know, one that's supposedly healthy or one that's like low in sugar. I remember like standing ages looking at like all these cereals, having never even looked at them because I don't have cereal in the house, and like choosing these hazelnut cocoa pops that I thought were going to be amazing. Like got back home with them, and like they're still in the cupboard now. So like I don't even like them. Like so I've like kind of put cereal into a box. Well, yeah, into like this category where like I can't have cereal, it's full of sugar. Like, you know, it's the sort of thing I'll just on a binge, I would just start eating the whole box. And I've maybe had 2 bowls of this cereal since 2 weeks before Christmas because I don't like it, but I'm just going to leave it in there as a little reminder of the progress.
Get that box flattened and framed, I say.
Yeah.
Because eventually the cereal will go off, and we don't want moldy cereal in your cupboards.
Don't worry, I'm not going to, I don't like it.
Yeah, but I mean, this speaks exactly what we were talking about, and maybe your surprise of like pretty much day one was like, right, you know, this isn't about like, hey, these are your macros, this is your protein target, this is your calorie target. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to kind of create and build, you know, trust and intuition again. What was your kind of, I guess, overall opinion of how I worked with you, which, you know, we met weekly on a one-to-one basis. What was your thoughts and feelings around the overall like structure of the program?
So like I don't work with like Zoom calls or like I'm not used to like sitting at a desk and speaking in a camera. Like some people maybe do that with like Zoom calls every day for work. Like I don't, so it's a bit weird. Like I was a bit nervous, to be fair, like going on a camera and like opening up to someone. Yeah, like I knew you from the gym, but like I wouldn't say I like know you personally or anything like that. So yeah, it is a bit nerve-wracking, but like really there's not really that much to worry about. I've ended up in tears on phone calls, but like I always feel much better. I've said to you, like after we've had our like meeting for the week, like I really feel like I'm set up for the day and the week. Like it's like, yeah, it puts you on a high after you've had a call, and there's like no judgment around it. Like I say, I've sat here and like openly cried, and it's fine. Like I guess you're going through like a big change in your life, so that's going to happen.
What was your kind of biggest surprise of it all? Like, was it the fact that things just happened so quickly with like, I mean, you tell me.
Yeah, I think that like how quickly I wasn't binge eating. Like I know I keep going on about binge eating, but that was like a big issue for me. Like restriction and binging, like how quickly that just didn't happen or like didn't enter my mind again. With no real like, I didn't have to put any big effort into it. It was like we'd had a couple of chats. I'd started listening to some podcasts that you'd recommended and reading a book. And before I knew it, like I felt like I was on my way. Like, and then you start to think, oh, maybe this is just like me being in another one of my phases and it's a fluke, and give it maybe 4 weeks, 5 weeks, then it's going to happen again. And then it just didn't. And the longer it goes on, the more you trust that actually it's not going to happen. And now, like you say, it's like nearly April and we started working in December and still hasn't happened.
It's not going to happen.
No, it won't. Like it's not a thing now.
Like if we look at, well, this no longer affects you, all right? What has this allowed you to now do and experience? Because there's a picture, and I'm going to use it as like a cover on this podcast of you eating out with a big smile on your face, holding a porn star martini or some sort of random feminine cocktail. Guys, actually, I got really drunk on lots of porn star martini, quite sickly after about 8. But that for me just exemplifies exactly what you've done. You're there enjoying yourself, and there's not an ounce of like worry or guilt or shame. Where are you now in terms of, I guess, enjoying life?
Yes, I think like, being invited out with friends or like planning to go out with family and go out for meals should be like something enjoyable. Like everyone loves eating out, and well, I've seen people like love eating out in restaurants. But like for me in the past, that would be like, right, okay, so I'm going out for this meal on Friday with my friends. Like, where am I going to restrict throughout the week to like prepare myself for going out for that event? And it kind of like just taints the whole like enjoyment of it. Whereas now, like you can actually enjoy the occasion for what it is and look forward to it, and then you don't need to prepare yourself with restriction throughout the week or like extra exercise. You're literally just going out for a meal with your friends, like, and you can just actually enjoy it for what it is. It's like you look forward to it rather than having to like rejig your life around going out for one meal and a few drinks.
What about your relationship with exercise as well? Because that's vastly changed also.
Yeah, so I love exercise. I've always exercised, but it would be to extremes. Like, I would do challenges where I mean, some people might do this anyway and be happy with it, but really looking back, I wasn't. Like I was pushing myself to do things that I didn't want to do, running every day for like a month or two, or like feeling crap after night shifts, but like force myself to go down to the gym when like all I needed was a bit of fresh air and like a little walk and listen to some music or something. And now like I'm into walking loads. I need a dog really because I just walk around Low Fell in Sallow Park with no dog, looking strange. But yeah, like it's not a punishment. It's not a tool for burning calories. It's not like it doesn't. I don't really need it to set us up for going out for a meal or anything like that. I go because I enjoy it and I go when I want. And if I don't really want to go, then I don't, and I don't need to feel like guilty about it for a week.
I think as well, like something that's huge is like how quickly, you know, these changes really kind of occurred within you to the point where you are now, where it's like you're actually planning things, you're looking forward to going out. You mentioned like going out for restaurants now and no longer like looking at ahead at the menu in advance, trying to pick the I guess healthiest version or the lowest calorie or whatever. You're actually feeling fully free and in control to go into those situations in the past that would have filled you with dread and anxiety. Now you go into those with a sense of freedom and, you know, curiosity even, um which just massively speaks to the transformation that we've kind of achieved within this, because this has not been about like the period of time we've worked together. This is very much about like the next 5, 10, 20, 30, and the rest of your life. Um, what do you feel about the future right now? You know, like that time in front of you. Like I know we spoke numerous times, and one of the big things moving forward was, you know what, this has made you miss out on so many things in life, so many experiences. What about moving forward?
Yes, like I think like I genuinely have like more time on my hands because this used to occupy like so much of my life, like just gym, like planning everything so that you feel like you're in control of food prep, like not going anywhere without having food with you because you know you need to make sure it's all being tracked. And again, like you say, looking at menus and choosing the option like that's the healthiest or least calories before you get there, so that when you get to the restaurant you don't feel like you're gonna, you know, be swayed into choosing something different. Like that's not normal. Like going forward, I can just turn up at a restaurant, enjoy like having a look at the menu, see what I fancy at the time, see how hungry I actually am, instead of, you know, making like a thing of it. It's like it's supposed to be enjoyable, all of these things. And yeah, I've maybe haven't missed out on all of them, but I haven't really enjoyed them to the extent that I will be able to in the future. Like holidays, for example, in the future, I can't remember like going on a holiday in the last 5, 10 years where there hasn't had to be some sort of diet beforehand. Um, which again, like just takes away from the enjoyment and like build up of going on a holiday, like trying to starve yourself before you go. So just having the freedom to do and like live how I want and having the time to do things that I actually enjoy that I didn't realize were so important to me until we've like some of the exercises and like sort of tasks that I've done throughout working with you have helped you realize what actually is important to you, what makes you feel good, and that you've actually probably just been neglecting them for all of these years at the expense of fad diets and like over exercising.
You know what? And like a lot of these recordings, even within my content that I produce, you know, there's not really much talk about food or diet as such, as like I call it the X's and O's, and I call it the very surface level stuff. Um, were you surprised with how much, I guess, freedom there was within all of this? Because coming from a background of restriction, rules, to now actually trusting your intuition, hence me doing like becoming like an intuitive eating counselor on top of what I do. Is that like a big surprise to you also, of like really how little to do with food this all was, but
Yeah.
your relationship with it is completely transformed?
Yeah, so it is like, I suppose the most we end up talking about food is when we're like comparing like which sticky toffee pudding's the best, or where to go for a good Sunday dinner. It's not like, where you can go and get like a high protein, low calorie lunch if you're out in Newcastle, like make how to stay on track whilst being in town. It's like where like the real good food is, like actually getting excited about it, or like enjoying talking about it, not just like where I need to restrict. It's totally, it's about like enjoying food again.
And as you say, I'm a foodie. I love food, ex-chef, like love cooking, love experiencing food, love trying new foods, and food is such a like an important part of like life. And to feel like you've always got to kind of be on edge with it and not trust it, it's just, as you say, it's just all consuming, and it's no wonder people break. And I genuinely hope people have taken a great deal of inspiration from you during this call. I've only got like one or two more questions really to ask you, but to see your journey and see the change that's happened like from within, and the confidence that you've kind of brought to, is just like really reinforcing for me, that like for the passion I have with setting you up for life. This wasn't a program designed to kind of keep you in control for the period of time that you were within it, like every other diet. This was actually to give you very much the foundations to never need another thing again. Does it almost feel like that's not even a thing like anymore? Like you can't go back.
Yeah, like honestly, I definitely would not want to go back. Like it's like it's sad to think of like all the like 15 years for me, there or thereabouts. I feel like obviously to different extents throughout those years, but that's like 15 years of like restriction and maybe missing out. And for some people, like it could be even more. But I just think to like break the cycle has been like the best thing, to like have freedom and then like look forward to the future, I guess.
There'll be people listening to this, watching, who are maybe stuck in the same situation you were in, feeling isolated, feeling lonely, feeling guilty, feeling ashamed of their actions, not knowing what to do. What Obviously doing this has been like an investment and a commitment, because that's what's required. And now that the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years of your life is kind of like built upon freedom, what would your advice be to somebody who is like maybe doing what we're doing, a bit of like kind of stalking and like a bit of listening and gathering information and so on and so forth? What would your advice be to them?
I think it is an investment in time and money, and I think it's like you can't put a price on how you're going to feel when you realize that the way you've been living isn't really your fault. Like you don't need to feel guilty, and there is like a way out. And actually, the way out and the way of living afterwards is way easier than it was before. Like it's much easier to live your life the way I am now than prior coming to work with you, and you won't have those feelings anymore. And yeah, you are going to have to invest a little bit of money into it, but you've probably spent a lot of money on, I don't know, like Slimming World memberships, or I don't know what people do, like Huel drinks or whatever people are into these days. Like,
or personal trainers or coaches that aren't
like, another diet plan, a 12-week diet plan. I don't know how much you would pay for that, but it's like really not what you need to make you feel better. And I think even if you just have like a chat with yourself, you'll get a feel of how like the calls go each week, and it's not it's not like a regime or anything. It's just like quite informal chat, but yeah, you go on like a bit of a journey throughout the 12 weeks.
Yeah, and finally, like, are you happy, Sarah, that you, I guess, took the leap? You stepped into uncertainty. You didn't know what was like to come, really. You may have had an idea, but then that was just thrown like
Yeah,
out the window.
I did have an idea about like, you know, when you mentioned intuitive eating, people that like watching this might not have a clue what that was. I don't think I did. I don't actually think I knew what you did that wasn't a diet, really. But I just knew that that was what I needed. And then, yeah, like to hear like the theory behind it all, it just makes total sense. I'm definitely happy that I like decided to do it.
You know, so if you are listening to Sarah's amazing journey, and I've told her numerous times how proud I am of her, and you know, I want to make sure that she knows that if you sat there listening, the way Sarah and I started working together, you know, it's very much about conversations at first. We exchanged a few messages, we had a couple of calls, you know, and it was making sure that she knew what I was all about and how I was going to help us. This is very much about like resolving and fixing this problem that plagued Sarah for like seemingly half a life. And you know, this is about me helping you move out that position. So what I'll do in the show notes, I'll put a link to have a free conversation with me, just a quick 30-minute Zoom. There's nothing salesy, you know, I'm not going to use like any Jedi skills. I just want to hear your story a little bit, where I can help you, and if that is the case, you know, we'll move forward things from there. But as Sarah said, it's about being ready to change, and you know, Sarah was in the right place at the right time, and she could have went to the wrong thing, which would have made it worse. Fortunately, she went what I believe, this is why my service exists, to the right thing. So I just want to again finally say a huge thank you, Sarah, and a big well done.
Thank you for all your help.
You're welcome. And that is the end of the podcast. So first and foremost, I just want to say a huge, massive thank you to Sarah. I am so proud of the strength that she has within her that has just come to the surface. It was always there, which is absolutely amazing. Knowing that 15 years of, you know, turmoil is just gone, and now her future is set up for some excitement is hugely gratifying for me, and this is exactly why I do that. So if you feel like Sarah, you know, stuck in a rut, not knowing what to do, where to turn, having, you know, in your eye tried everything, well, let's have a conversation. I am currently taking on clients, and it just starts with a conversation, nothing crazy. We are just going to see where you're at and see whether you warrant my sort of help. You know, I work with committed individuals because to get out the other side of this, it requires for you to be committed. Go to the website buildwithbickle.com, or send an email, ian@buildwithbickle.com, or you can just book a free 15-30 minute Zoom call with myself. We'll just have a brief, fairly informal chat just to see what's going on, and we'll move forward from there. So thank you once again for listening. Make sure you subscribe, share it around, please. That would be hugely helpful, and catch you next time.